One insult, that's all it took to change the course of history. Not a war, not a tragedy, not even a loss, just one moment of public humiliation. Most people experience it, feel hurt, and move on. But one man didn't, and because he didn't, an empire fell, and another one rose, long before he became known as one of the greatest strategists in history. Chanakya was just a man that no one took seriously. He didn't look powerful, he didn't carry weapons, he didn't have an army behind him. If you saw him in a crowd, you would probably ignore him. But what people couldn't see was his mind. Sharp, observant, and deeply aware of how the world truly works. He understood something most people never realize, that power is not just about strength. It is about control. Control over people, decisions, and outcomes. But understanding something and being respected for it are two very different things. And Chanakya was about to learn that in the harshest way possible. At that time, one of the most powerful rulers in the land was King Nanda. His empire was wealthy, vast, and feared. His court was filled with influential people, generals, ministers, advisors, each trying to stay close to power. Chanakya entered that court, not as a beggar, not as someone seeking favor, but as a man with knowledge. He believed that intelligence had value, that wisdom deserved a place near power. But the world doesn't always work the way it should. When Nanda looked at Chanakya, he didn't see intelligence. He saw a man who didn't look royal, didn't carry authority, didn't fit the image of importance. And instead of listening, he laughed. Not just a small insult, a public humiliation. He mocked Chanakya's appearance. He dismissed his presence. And then, in front of everyone, he ordered him to be thrown out of the court. That moment could have ended everything. For most people it would have. Because humiliation does something deep. It attacks your identity. It makes you question your worth. It makes you shrink. It makes you walk away quietly and avoid ever facing that kind of situation again. But Chanakya didn't walk away like that. He didn't argue. He didn't shout. He didn't try to prove himself in that moment. Instead, he did something far more dangerous. He became silent. And in that silence, something changed. As he stood outside that court, after being thrown out, he untied his hair. In that time, that gesture wasn't casual. It meant something. It was a vow. And he said, not loudly, not dramatically, but with absolute certainty, I will not tie this back until I destroy this empire. That was the moment a scholar disappeared, and a strategist was born, because what happened next was not driven by emotion. It was driven by clarity. Chanakya understood something most people miss when they are hurt. The insult was not the real problem. The real problem was power. He realized that intelligence without authority is ignored, that truth without influence is dismissed, that no matter how right you are, if you don't have power, you don't matter in the eyes of the world. And instead of complaining about it, he decided to change it. But how do you destroy an empire when you have nothing? No army, no wealth, no support? That's where most people would stop. That's where excuses begin. But Chanakya didn't look at what he didn't have. He looked at what he could build. And the first thing he needed was not an army. It was a person, someone who could be shaped, trained, and prepared for something bigger. And that's when he found a young boy, Chandragupta. At that time he was no king, no one respected him, no one expected anything from him. Just a boy with potential hidden beneath the surface. But Chanakya didn't see who he was. He saw who he could become. And that changed everything, because from that moment, Chanakya stopped reacting to the past and started building the future. He took Chandragupta under his guidance. For years, this was not revenge. This was preparation. He didn't just teach him how to fight. He taught him how to think, how to read people, how to understand intentions, how to stay calm under pressure, how to wait for the right moment, because winning is not about reacting fast. It's about acting at the right time, while the world continued as usual. While the empire remained confident in its strength, Chanakya was quietly building something they couldn't see. Strategy, step by step, piece by piece. He studied the weaknesses of the empire. He understood its structure, its strengths, its flaws, and most importantly, its blind spots, because every powerful system has one. And when you find it, you don't need to fight directly. You just need to apply pressure in the right place. Years passed. And slowly, Chandragupta was no longer just a boy. He had become a leader, disciplined, focused, and prepared. And when the time was right, they moved, not with noise, not with chaos, but with precision. The empire that once seemed unshakable began to weaken, not all at once, but gradually, like a structure losing its foundation, until one day, it collapsed. The same king who once laughed was no longer in power. The same court that once rejected Chanakya was now irrelevant. And the boy who was once ignored became the ruler, Chandragupta Maurya, and behind him stood the mind that made it possible. Chanakya returned, not as a man seeking respect, but as a man who had already earned it. He didn't demand recognition. He didn't seek validation, because he had something far more powerful: control. And it all started with one insult. But here's the truth that matters. The insult didn't make him great. His response did, because every day people are disrespected, ignored, underestimated. But most people react in a way that keeps them where they are. They get angry, they complain, they try to prove themselves immediately, and in doing that, they lose the one thing that actually creates power: patience. Chanakya didn't react fast. He reacted right. He didn't chase revenge. He built capability. He didn't try to win the moment. He focused on winning the outcome. And that is why his story still matters, because the world hasn't changed. Power still works the same way. Respect still follows strength, and intelligence without execution is still ignored. So the next time life insults you, the next time someone underestimates you, the next time you feel like you've been dismissed, pause. Don't react immediately. Don't try to prove yourself in that moment. Because that moment doesn't matter. What matters is what you do after. Will you let it break your confidence, or will you let it build your direction? Because one insult is enough to destroy you, or enough to create something powerful. The choice has always been yours. This channel gives clarity in a distracted world. If this changed the way how you think, consider subscribing for more wisdom.